Today we're going to discuss the 5 signs that your childhood trauma turned you into a high achiever. If you've ever wondered why you push yourself so hard or why success sometimes feels like survival, this video is for you. We'll break down the science, share real stories, and not just the usual suspects, and give you practical steps to transform your drive into real thriving. Ever feel like you're sprinting toward your goals, but you're not totally sure what's chasing you? Yeah, same. I grew up with the kind of childhood that makes therapists reach for a fresh notepad. They always get really excited when I come and sit in their office for the first time. Statistically, I should be in jail, or at least in a lot more trouble than student loan debt. Instead, I collected more degrees than Pokemon cards, and it turns out pain is a great motivator, but a terrible roommate. Research shows childhood adversity can literally rewire your brain. You get hypervigilant, super driven, and suddenly you're the person in the group project who does everything. You know what I'm talking about. Let's see if you recognize these patterns yourself. Let's talk about the psychology and pull back the curtain on what's actually happening in your brain when trauma turns you into a high achiever, and why it's not just willpower or grit. When you go through childhood trauma, your nervous system doesn't just shake it off. It rewires itself for survival. Recent 2024 research confirms that adverse childhood experiences create what psychologists call adaptive responses. Like your brain literally changes its structure and chemistry to help you survive, not thrive, at least at first. And here's where things go wild. The same wiring that kept you safe as a kid can actually push you to the top as an adult. These same 2024 studies go on to show that post-traumatic growth in survivors often develops into enhanced threat detection systems. Translation, your brain is always scanning for danger. You become an expert at anticipating problems, reading the room, staying 3 steps ahead, skills that look a lot like leadership, hustle, and natural talent. But there's a twist. This hypervigilance, this constant state of alertness can make you a superstar at work or school, but it's powered by anxiety, not passion. Your nervous system can't tell the difference between a work deadline and a saber-toothed tiger. That's why you crush your goals and still feel like you're never enough, or that everything could collapse at any second. Sound familiar, anyone? Multiple 2024 studies back this up. Trauma-driven achievement has a hidden cost. You might be winning on paper, but inside, you're still running from danger that isn't there anymore. Here's the hope. Cutting-edge research on emotional intelligence and neuroplasticity shows that once you recognize these patterns, you can actually start to change them. You can keep your superpowers, the hustle, the intuition, the drive, while healing the parts of you that are still stuck in survival. Bottom line, if you see yourself in this, you're not broken. Your brain just did its best to keep you alive. Now, you get to decide what you do with those survival skills. Let's talk about some of the people who turned their worst moments into their greatest victories. And I'm not talking about the typical everything happens for a reason motivational poster nonsense, okay? Let's talk about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team. Cut. Like, you can't play here, kid. From high school basketball. That's like getting denied entry into your own birthday party. Most of us would eat a pint of ice cream and develop a lifelong aversion to gym class. Mike? He's like, oh, well then I'll just become the greatest basketball player of all time. That'll show him. The man that took teenage heartbreak and turned it into a 6-ring circus. Stephen King grew up with an alcoholic father who abandoned the family when Stephen was 2. His mom worked multiple jobs just to keep food on the table. And King dealt with poverty, bullying, and feeling like an outsider. So what did he do? He started writing horror stories. Turns out, when you've lived through real monsters, fictional ones are just Tuesday. The guy who felt powerless as a kid became the master of making millions of people afraid to turn off the lights. Now that's some next level emotional alchemy there. And then there's Tyler Perry, whose childhood was so traumatic it reads like a script for one of his movies, except nobody would believe it's real. Physical abuse, sexual abuse, poverty, homelessness. At one point, he was living in his car, but instead of letting that break him, he channeled it into creating Medea and building a media empire. He literally turned his pain into a billion-dollar business. The man went from sleeping in his car to owning his own studio lot. That's not just success. That's a complete rewrite of the script. You see, psychologists call this post-traumatic growth. It's like your brain goes through something that's like, oh, you thought that would break me. Watch me invent a whole new level of competitiveness. These folks didn't just survive their trauma. They weaponized it in the best possible way. So sometimes the thing that knocks you down is the thing that launches you into the stratosphere, which is either super inspiring or mildly terrifying, depending on your caffeine intake. Now let's get brutally honest. There's a shadow to all of this success that almost nobody talks about, especially in the rise and grind culture that we all live in. On the outside, you're nailing it. Promotions, degrees, applause. But inside, you might feel like an imposter, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that's because trauma-driven achievement is powered by fear, not joy. You're not just running around or running toward your goals, you're running away from pain. And that's a key difference. Here's what the dark side can look like. Burnout on repeat. You push harder than anyone else, but rest feels dangerous. If you stop, the old feelings might catch up, so you don't stop until your body forces you to. Then there's never enough syndrome. No matter how much you achieve, it never feels like it counts. You set the bar higher and higher, but satisfaction always stays just out of reach. You put relationships on the back burner. You might even avoid vulnerability or intimacy, fearing that if people saw the real you, they'd leave. So you pour everything into your work, where you can control the outcomes. Then there's success as armor. Achievement becomes your shield. And if you're impressive enough, maybe no one will see how much you're still hurting inside. I've lived this. 3 degrees, academic honors, outward confidence, while quietly fighting anxiety and believing that I had to earn my worth every step of every single day. The applause fades fast, and the silence can feel deafening. But here's the truth. You can't out-achieve your pain. Sooner or later, it catches up. And the great news? Facing this shadow is the first step to real freedom. You can keep your drive, but you don't have to let old wounds steer the ship. Start noticing when your ambition feels like anxiety in disguise. Is this goal about passion, or is it about proving that you're enough? That awareness alone is a game changer. So how do you break the cycle and actually enjoy success without feeling like you're being chased by invisible wolves? Well, first, I would say therapy, because sometimes you need a professional to help you sort out your emotional sock drawer. CBT and trauma-focused therapy can rewire those old survival patterns. Then there's mindfulness and nervous system regulation. Turns out, breathing is underrated. Who knew? And then setting boundaries works very well. You can say no, and the world won't end. I checked multiple times. You can redefine your worth beyond achievement. You see, your value isn't your productivity. You're not a human vending machine that only dispenses worth when you accomplish something. You can build genuine connections, not networking, actual relationships where people like you, even when you're not being impressive. I know, hard to imagine, right? This isn't about stopping your drive. It's about upgrading your operating system. Instead of running on survival mode, you get to run on purpose. Instead, same energy, better direction. You can honor your story and still write a new chapter, preferably one with more naps and fewer panic attacks. Which of these signs hit home for you? Drop your story in the comments. I read every one, usually with snacks. If you're ready to move from surviving to thriving, hit subscribe and check out my top video, Breaking Free from Survival Mode. Remember, your trauma might have written the prologue, but you're the author now. And unlike Stephen King, you get to write yourself a happy ending. No haunted hotels, no killer clowns, just the next chapter you deserve. So whether you're building empires like Tyler Perry, dunking on your doubts like MJ, or just trying to make it through a Monday without a panic attack, know this: your story isn't over, and you get to decide what comes next. Now, if you want some help making your childhood trauma your superpower, check the description and download a worksheet I designed just to get you started. Remember, you're not broken. You've just been through some stuff, and together we will overcome our past and build toward a brighter future. See you in the next one.